why we're going to talk about lead magnetism, how to grow your business with marketing automation. So my name, Caelan Huntress, is kind of difficult to spell. That's why I put it on all the slides. And so if you see anything that you think, oh man, that's really great, I want to share that, go ahead and put it on social media. Feel free to tag me in it at Caelan Huntress. You just have to know how to spell my name right. And it is a little difficult. That's why I put it on all the slides. All right, so I'm going to go over a quick agenda so we know what we're talking about today. The first thing that we're going to discuss is the game of attention and how marketing can help you win this game. The second thing we're going to talk about is the 4-step customer cycle and how you can guide people through this cycle step by step. And then we're going to talk about list building lead magnets, what they are, how they work, and how you can develop them for your own business. And the final thing we'll talk about is marketing stack architecture, how you can create a combination of marketing technology that best supports your business. And I'm also going to give everybody a copy of the marketing automation checklist. If you've registered in advance, then you got this with the email that gave you the Zoom link, and I'll send it again with the replay tomorrow. And if you're watching this on the replay, then there should be a button somewhere nearby where you can download this. And we'll go through this in a little bit more detail later. But I do want to let everybody know that I have finished draft 5 of my book, Marketing Yourself. This is not the cover. This is just a mock-up, something that I threw together. But I'm now getting feedback from early readers. So if you'd like to be one of the early readers of my book manuscript, go ahead and type Marketing Yourself into the chat box, and I'll follow up with you later and get you a copy of the advance manuscript. If you can get me feedback by mid-August, then that's what is that, like 3-4 weeks from now? Then that would be really helpful, because that's what I'm going to go into the final push. Thank you, everybody who's typing it in the chat box. I'll follow up with you later. Much appreciated. So the big problem with marketing is that it can take a lot of time, and it takes you away from doing your best work. The more time that we spend in marketing, the less time that we have to spend on doing the things that matter. And so the goal of marketing is actually to not spend a very long time in marketing. It's to get the lead generation handled so that you can get back to doing the things that are worthy of your attention. So what we want to do is we want to get the most amount of leads in the least amount of time, right? Now, for everybody who's watching live, I just want to direct you to the button in the upper right-hand corner that says View, and you could toggle between Speaker View and Gallery View, and come into Speaker View so that you can see my slides. And here, I'll go ahead and spotlight myself so that way it'll be easier. And what we're going to talk about today is how to use your marketing to grow your business, because that's really why we spend time marketing. I mean, I'm a professional marketer, and I don't like to spend much more time marketing than I have to, because there's other things in addition to marketing that I want to do. Just like we've all got plans, and we need money and leads to do them. And so you could take the time to learn marketing the hard way, or you can take shortcuts. If you accelerate your lead growth with a couple of clever shortcuts, then that gives you a longer runway with the projects that you're working on. It gives you more options when you have a consistent lead generation strategy. Sometimes when I share these techniques with people, they say, well, what if I get too many leads and I get overwhelmed with all that new business? That's a great problem to have. If you have too many leads, you can start a wait list. A good marketing plan is like a spigot, and you can turn it on or turn it off as you need to. Now, how many people would like the problem of having too many leads coming in? Is that a problem we would all like to have? Yeah. It's a great problem to try and solve. And it's easy enough to solve because you can hire more people. You can defer people to working with you a couple months down the line. There's all sorts of solutions to too much business. And that's ultimately what we want to work towards, is getting a reliable influx of leads. And I've been working in marketing for a while. I've run my own business for 10 years, working with a variety of clients. I started as a web designer and then got into more general marketing because of my skills in content creation. And because I've worked with so many different types of entrepreneurs and experts and businesses, it's allowed me to see patterns. So many different types of business owners, they've all gone through a bunch of different kinds of campaigns that I've either seen or managed or launched and learned from. And my gift is really to see the system from end to end. And what I've noticed over the last decade of helping people grow their businesses with marketing automation is that there are some really typical pitfalls to avoid. And there's some shortcuts to success. And what I want to do is I want to share some of those shortcuts with you today. And I'll start by sharing what's worked for me. I grew my business with marketing consultations. When I first left the United States 10 years ago, and I took my family to Costa Rica, I just had a laptop and a big idea. And so I talked to anybody who had a business and a big idea and wanted to grow their business. And some of those people needed websites, and some of them would hire me. And some of them wouldn't. But what I found in tracking my numbers is that out of every 10 people that I gave a free marketing consultation to, on average, 3 of them would hire me for work. So this became my lead magnet. And I did it virtually because I was working with clients all around the world. And I streamlined that intake process, so that if somebody had an interesting business and they asked a question that was in my domain of expertise, I'd say, hey, let's get on the phone for a 30-minute marketing consultation, and I'll give you some free advice. And if I can help you with some services after that, then great. But if not, and I can just help with some free advice, I'd love to get on the phone with you. And that lead magnet grew and sustained my business and allowed me to support my family. Just by this one lead magnet. Let's get on the phone and talk. Now, a magnet attracts effortlessly, but it takes a lot of effort to make it. You don't just mine a magnet out of the ground. You mine iron ore, and then you have to smelt it into steel, and then you have to get it really hot and bend it, which is tough. And then you got to force a whole lot of electricity through it to charge it. And after all of this effort, then it's magnetized. Then it attracts to it effortlessly after all the effort is made. And that's how I want you to think about your marketing. You spend a lot of time and effort and energy to make a good lead magnet that can then attract for you effortlessly. But there's an investment of effort up front that you have to make. But your first try might not succeed. Marketing is a series of failed experiments. The good news is the more that you test and the more that you experiment, the more likely you are to land on something that works. But we don't know what's going to work until we try something, measure the results, and then try again. This is the foundation of the scientific method. You have a hypothesis. I think these people will pay this much for this thing. And so you run an experiment, which allows you to collect some data. And you observe that data to determine, is this working or not? Am I getting the results that I want? And then after that research, you can form another hypothesis. And this cycle continues. It's iterative in nature. You don't figure out your marketing one time and then put it aside. It's something that you're always improving on. But we want to get the time spent down, so that after you have that first magnet, you can iterate on that about once a quarter. The lessons that you learn from these failures are a critical part of the process. Julie Stoyan was the VP of marketing for ClickFunnels. So she knows a thing or two about online marketing. And she says that most funnels don't work when you launch them. Even if you're a pro, it can take 2, 3, 4, or 10 tries until you get it right. Has anybody ever launched a funnel that hasn't worked before? Yeah, this is part of the process. There's a saying that the only difference between a master and a novice is that the master has failed 10,000 more times than the novice has ever tried. So if you want to master your marketing, you have to get comfortable with failure. There's this thought experiment in quantum physics known as Schrodinger's cat. And your marketing is a lot like Schrodinger's cat. The Schrodinger's cat is this, theoretical cat you put in a box with a glass vial of radioactive material. And there's a 50% chance that the radioactive material will decay and shatter the vial and kill the cat. But because of how quantum physics works, the cat is both alive and dead until you open the box to observe it. And that's how your marketing campaigns are. They're both a success and a failure until you can get a retrospective and collect the data and research it and find out whether or not you achieved your objectives. It's a success because you launched a marketing campaign. It's a failure if you don't achieve your goals, but you don't know if you're achieving your goals until you pass that critical point where you can look back and see what's happened. So I want you to take your marketing as an iterative journey. And you're going to be focusing on these three areas in your marketing. There's your experiments, your messaging, and your lead generation. When you achieve alignment between these three areas, your experiments, your messaging, and your lead generation, then your marketing becomes aligned. In the overlap between your experiments and your messaging, there's your evergreen calls to action. And these are the simple statements that you can repeat verbatim to invite people to do business with you. Every time you do another campaign or another launch, you're doing another experiment and you're iterating on these calls to action. Your weekly content is what you're publishing to stay in front of your audience. The messaging that generates leads. And then in the overlap between your lead generation and your experiments, that's where your quarterly launches come into play. Every quarter, you can try another way to get leads. And every quarter, you're going to get a little better at it. Smart marketing is like a cup of coffee. Do we have any coffee drinkers here? Yeah, any coffee fans? Because man, coffee it's a wonderful elixir. But what you drink in your cup isn't anything like how coffee starts. When I first moved to Costa Rica 10 years ago, I lived across the street from a coffee plantation and I watched them pick these beans, and they are not edible at all. It's not a food. You can't digest it. What you have to do is you have to burn it a little bit. Not a lot, you just roast it on the outside. And then you grind it into a powder and you force hot boiling water through it. And then you strain it out so that by the end, what you have in your cup is nothing like what you started with. That happens in marketing. What you end up launching can be completely different than what you started with, but it's been flavored by what you've done. So I want you to feel comfortable in letting things go, allowing the failure to strain things out. Because that coffee that comes out at the end, the smart marketing that brings you leads week in and week out without any extra effort, it might not have any of those bitter beans that you started with, but you needed to process them to get to the end result. So that's the goal, is to work on our experiments, our messaging, and our lead generation in an iterative process, and to enjoy the failure. Because once you have a smart system set up, you can free your time for what matters most, which means you're going to have a bigger impact. You're going to stand confidently in your own power, and you'll be able to focus your life and your business on the things that matter the most to you. So a lot of times, this is done through our content. Nowadays, especially if you have an internet-based business, content is the primary way that you interact with your audience and that you grow your list and that you attract your customers to you. And your content needs to be flavored by what you're trying to do with the content. Every piece of content is either meant to educate or to entertain. You're either trying to build a relationship or build revenue. And depending on where you land in this quadrant, you might be trying to persuade someone of something, to encourage them to make a purchase, to promote something that you have on offer, or just have a party. If you're trying to entertain someone into developing a relationship with you, don't try and get them to purchase. Target your content for the right position on the 4-step customer cycle. The 4-step customer cycle is know, like, trust, and buy. I'm sure you've seen this around. And the reason why people have been talking about this concept for decades is because it's really critical to the journey between stranger and customer. If you try and skip a step in the 4-step marketing cycle, you're going to slip. People aren't going to buy from you until they trust you. They won't trust you unless they like you, and they can't like you if they don't know you. Each step deepens a relationship. I like to think of this as feeding a wild animal. If you go out and you see the ducks and you have a handful of bread crumbs and you throw them at them, they'll think you're attacking and run away. But if you hold them gently and you invite them to approach at a pace that they feel comfortable with, then you can develop a relationship. Now, the neat thing about marketing online is that we can measure the steps that people take. I've laid out some stages here from stranger to customer, and depending on your business, you might have different stages, but we can often identify a specific action that somebody takes from one step to another. And we can measure those actions. If you collect the data on these activities, if you know how often a website visitor turns into a subscriber and how often someone who clicks on your email is likely to buy from you, then you get some levers that you can pull to iterate your marketing. But you need to collect that data to do it. As Jim Rohn says, what gets measured gets managed. If you're not measuring your marketing activity, you can't manage your marketing. A lot of times we talk about marketing through stages like this using the term sales funnel. Anybody ever heard this term, sales funnel, before? Yeah, it's a common term that's been kind of depleted by all the internet marketing bros out there that say, hey, buy my course on how to sell online courses and you can kick back and it's hula girls and margaritas for the rest of your life. And they've really diminished the value of this term, which is unfortunate because it's a really useful term. You put leads in the top, customers come out the bottom. It's a simple progression. And when you identify all the stages of that progression, then you can encourage people on one stage to take a step to the next stage. You can collect the data of how often people transition from stage to stage. You can interpret that data and use it to pivot to something new. Reviewing your metrics monthly helps you make better strategic decisions. And that's why I like to use dashboards and spreadsheets so that instead of wondering what works, I can let the data tell me what's working. So without getting into geeky spreadsheets, I just want to look at this from a theoretical level. At the top should be a painkiller, and at the bottom should be a vitamin. The vitamin, the things that people buy from you, are really hard to build an audience with because it's things that you should do, but it's hard to get people to buy vitamins, even though they know it's smart. But if somebody is facing a pain If they have a pain point and you offer a painkiller, they'll talk to any stranger and say, yes, fix my problem. This hurts. Offer a painkiller as the lead magnet at the top, build know, like, and trust, and then sell the vitamin at the bottom. So what I'd like to know right now is, what kind of painkiller can you offer? Take a minute and write it down. Like, what's a pain point that your customer faces? Something that's really difficult where they say, oh, you know what, it's too difficult for me to do nothing about this. I have to find a solution now. I'll listen to this rando on the internet if they can fix this problem that I have. What's that pain point? Write down a couple of ideas for this pain point. What's the challenge they're facing? What's the difficulty that they need to overcome? And this might be different than what it is you sell. But what's at the top of your funnel can be different than what's at the bottom. You know, there was a study done that found that only 15% of website inquiries are ready to convert right away. But 50% of website inquiries will convert sometime in the next 18 months. This leaves a difference of 35%. 1/3 of your inbound leads are not ready to buy from you right away, but they will buy from you when the time is right. When you want some money, these are the people to talk to. The ones who have expressed interest sometime in the past, in the last year and a half, but they weren't ready right at the moment when they inquired, but they're going to be ready at some point. Checking in with those people is an easy shortcut to grow your business. Email automation is the best way to do this because, according to LinkedIn, it takes nearly a dozen pieces of content before somebody's ready to make a purchase. And you can pick up the phone and call all of your leads a dozen times, or you can let your systems handle those light touches. Every time you send an email to somebody, even if they don't open it, they read your subject line. They're reminded of who you are and what you do. It counts as one of those 11.4 pieces of content that on average need to be consumed. So setting up a system to deliver content and build relationship automatically, it saves so much time and energy. And I'll give you an example. Claire Pelletreau is a Facebook ads consultant, and she has a great blog over at clairepels.com. And when she upgraded MailChimp and set up an automation that had her top blog posts, her personal story, and links to her service pages and her courses, she started getting a lot more clients and customers. And this is how she did it. She used a 10 email sequence, and she lays this out on her blog on clairepels.com. And if you haven't subscribed to her newsletter yet, then I recommend you go there and give her a subscribe so that you can see this process play out. It's magnificent. She's done a marvelous job with this funnel. And you opt in for a PDF, and she delivers the PDF in email 1 and says that there's a tripwire, a small priced product, something for a few bucks with a countdown timer. But she doesn't mention it for the next 3 emails. She just builds know, like, and trust. She tells her story. She talks about case studies of people who have worked with her successfully. She talks about the challenges and the pain points that her customers are feeling. In email 5, she mentions the tripwire again, and then doesn't touch it again for another 3 emails. It's not until email 9, weeks after you subscribed, that she says, hey, I have this course, and I think that you'd be a good match for it. And if you haven't unsubscribed through all these emails, you have filtered yourself into her target market. So she's only offering a sales message to people who are ready to hear it. Sales only feels pushy if you haven't done enough pulling. Selling is pushing. Marketing is pulling. Bringing people through this cycle, this is the work of marketing. You want people to know you, and then to like you, and then to trust you, and then you ask them to buy from you. But you don't have to start from scratch. You've already got some great content. The blog posts that rank the highest in Google Analytics, the newsletters you've sent that have the highest open rates, new subscribers might not ever find that. But if you put it into your email onboarding sequence, then it's a showcase of your greatest hits. Once a quarter, I go through all of my data and I find out what were my most viewed videos, what were my best blog posts, and I bring those in as candidates for my onboarding sequence. And every 3 months, I revise my onboarding sequence to make it better. Now, I want to clarify the difference between a broadcast, which is sent one time, and an automation, which is sent over time. A broadcast is a newsletter that has a time-sensitive announcement. You know, like for those of you who are attending this live, the notifications to show up for this live were broadcasts. But I make my masterclasses evergreen so that I can continue to use them as lead magnets. So if you're watching this after the live presentation, chances are you opted in on an automation, which doesn't have anything time sensitive in it. So I never have to go and review it and update dates. If it's in an automation, it should be evergreen so that anytime people opt in, it's still going to be applicable to them. And I think it's really important to understand the difference between a broadcast and an automation because of this study that Campaign Monitor did. Remarkable study. They found that for every dollar spent on email marketing, an average of $44 was earned in a return on investment. I don't know of anything else that is that productive for small businesses, but that wasn't what truly startled me. This one knocked my socks off. 320% more revenue was driven from automated emails than non-automated emails. 3 times as much money is earned from your onboarding sequence as opposed to your weekly newsletter. Now, I want you to ask yourself, do you spend 3 times as much effort and time on your onboarding sequence? Or do you spend most of your email marketing time on your weekly newsletter? Weekly newsletters are important. Don't get me wrong. I love it. I've sent a newsletter every week for more than 10 years. But the onboarding sequence, that automation, that's where I convert strangers into customers. The newsletter is really just to keep in touch. But if I'm focusing my marketing energy on a place where it's going to do the most good, I want to look at the welcome mat. Whenever I start working with a new client, the very first thing I do is I opt into their newsletter and I start an onboarding audit. If I want to make a dramatic increase in their results, I rewrite the welcome email because this is where new potential customers are most often found. I mean, imagine you go into somebody's brick and mortar store, you wipe your feet on the welcome mat and you go inside the shop and they say, "Hey, thanks so much for coming in. What are you looking for? Do you want to see what's over here? Let me show you around." Now, contrast that to the experience of wiping your feet on the welcome mat, walking in the door, and the shopkeeper says, "Thanks for coming in," and disappears in the back, leaving you to figure out what's on the shelves and how to make a buying decision. That's a mess. When somebody voluntarily enters your shop, showing them around the shelves is the best way to nurture your customer cycle. Building an email list is like filling an auditorium. Everybody who subscribes to your email list says, "Okay, I'm going to come and sit down in this chair and I'm going to listen to what you have to say." Selling to this group of people is a lot easier than selling to randos on the internet. I mean, you can set up a soapbox on the side of the train station and yell your message out for everyone and try and distract a few people into listening to you, but that's tough work. You know, Kevin Kelly famously talked about 1,000 true fans. And he said, if you can gather 1,000 true fans who will buy whatever you're selling, then you can build a business and earn a livelihood. To stay in touch with those fans, unless you're going to use a dedicated community platform like Patreon or something like that, the easiest and most effective way to stay in touch with your audience is email. The size and activity of your email list is a practical measurement of your marketing effectiveness. How well you grow your list, the relationships you nurture with people, is a much better indicator of the growth of your business than how flashy your website is or how many followers you have on Twitter. The thing I really like about email is that you can automate these one-to-one relationships. Everybody who subscribes thinks that they've got a personal relationship with you, but you only have to do it once. You write one series of emails and you do these individual handshakes regularly, evergreen throughout time. But the trick is you have to solve a problem. To get somebody to voluntarily enter your funnel, there's got to be some tangible problem that you're solving for them. And the smallest possible problem makes the best lead magnet. So a lead magnet is something that requires high expertise and is not very difficult. If something has low expertise required to solve it, and it's not that difficult, most people will just do it themselves. If it's not that difficult, if it's not that, it doesn't require a lot of expertise, but it is difficult to do, they'll hire somebody cheap to do it. Or just do the grunt work themselves. If it's very difficult and requires high expertise, that's when they hire at a premium. And that's how we want to position you and your services and your products. But that's not what builds your list. What builds your list is something that requires high expertise and is not that difficult to do. It's something that your future customer can do themselves, but they need some guidance. They need an expert to walk them through how to do it. And that's where you come in. Because if you can be the expert who solves a small problem well, then they'll come to you when they have a more expensive, difficult problem that needs to be solved. You know, if you're going to go into surgery with a doctor, you might want to test their bedside manner and see how they put on a Band-Aid first. Because if they can't handle putting on a Band-Aid very well, you don't really want them cutting into your body for a surgery. And so that's why we often test our experts with free samples. A free sample is a small, non-threatening way to sample somebody's work. I'm sure you've been in a grocery store facing the problem of needing to fill your refrigerator and looking for something tasty to eat. And somebody offers you a free sample. Have some guacamole on this chip. Try this steak bite, something small and non-threatening. They don't ask you to invest in their farm or to fill your trunk with their product. They just want you to take a sample. Sometimes the entrepreneurs I work with say that, they worry about giving their work away for free because it'll devalue it. But there was this interesting study done that found that a $0 price is actually interpreted as higher quality. Because people know if you're going to give it away for free, you probably put the effort in to make it good. Nobody's going to give away rotten guacamole in the grocery store as free samples. You're going to put your best product there because you want to create a good impression. So one of my lead magnets is the marketing automation checklist, which a lot of you have the link to. And I use this to attract the right kinds of leads. Because the types of people that are trying to figure out their marketing automation, maybe they've just gotten an account with Infusionsoft, or they're trying to figure out how to link a couple things together, or they're making their first sales page. A resource like this does two things. First, it gives them a framework for the things that they're about to create. And second, it illustrates the difficulty in getting it all done well. So sometimes people will read through this PDF and think, I can't do this all myself. Caelan, I need your help. This is what's at the top of my sales funnel. When I run ads, I run them to the marketing automation checklist, not to my rates page. I don't let people know my rates until they're at the bottom of my funnel. At the top of my funnel, I make non-threatening offers to say, here's something free that's going to help you along your journey. And I'm going to take a little bit of a diversion to talk about the middle of the funnel. I mentioned this word earlier, tripwire. And this is one of my tripwires. The Marketing Automation Planner is an online course that takes you through all the different steps that you need to create a marketing funnel, start to finish. It's got templates and Google Docs and 10-minute videos and the whole thing. And I've got this whole thing set up at marketingautomationplanner.com. And I'm just going to go ahead and drop the link in here for that, because I want to show you what this is like. I'm going to go ahead and switch from my slides over to the URL where I keep this, the Marketing Automation Planner. This is the sales page. If you want to jump into that, you feel free. But what I want to show you is in the back end, because this is part of my marketing stack. My marketing stack has a bunch of different components in it. And this is my LMS, the learning management system that I use to deliver this content. And what I like about this system, it's called Experienceify. It's new. It just came out this year. And when you accomplish something, you get experience points, and it hits this dopamine button in your brain so that you want to keep earning more. And so it's very interactive. And since I'm a kinesthetic learner, I like being able to go in here and make this an experience. And so every lesson has a 10-minute video, and it's got step-by-step instructions. There's a whole bunch of stuff in there. But the reason why I share that with you is because I want to clarify the different steps in a marketing stack. This is my marketing stack, and you can see the ConvertKit logo is actually showing through my green screen. I'm having some green screen errors today. Sorry about that. Like I said, I'm using new tech today. It's like with juggling, the drops are all part of the show. So you get to see through some of these logos. This is my personal marketing stack. These are the applications that I use to run my business. Experienceify is my learning management system. ConvertKit is what I do with email. When you signed up for this masterclass, you entered your information on a Gravity form, and my website's built on WordPress. I could have done all of this with ActiveCampaign. ActiveCampaign is an all-in-one marketing system. A custom stack is a combination of different marketing systems. And there's a bunch of different all-in-ones. There's Infusionsoft and Entreport and HubSpot. I'm not going to get into the differences between a lot of those, although that is often, a lot of the work I do is helping people migrate from one system to another. But what I want to talk about today is the differences between these two options. With a custom stack, I can use best-in-class components. The email deliverability in ConvertKit is second to none. I know if I send out something in ConvertKit, it's much more likely to get into somebody's inbox than if I used an all-in-one system that also is spreading its development resources across a lot of different components. ConvertKit's trying to make some moves to be an all-in-one. They have a landing page builder. Their landing pages stink, in my opinion. But I really like the email deliverability. The trade-off is I have to spend a lot of time customizing these systems so that they integrate. Gravity Forms and ConvertKit need to pass a lot of data seamlessly to one another in order for my systems to work. But if I was using an all-in-one, that would all be taken care of in the background. I wouldn't have to do any technical integrations, because that's what an all-in-one does. But you pay for that integration. The average cost of an all-in-one system is $1,000 to $5,000 per month. The average cost of a custom stack is $300 to $500 per month. And this is according to a survey by Gartner of a bunch of CMOs. And they found that the average investment in marketing technology was 26% of their marketing budget. Yeah, it is a price difference. You're right, Sandy. It's but there's trade-offs with those price differences. I like the lower cost for a custom stack, but I forfeit documentation. When you work with an all-in-one and you have a difficulty with getting something to work, chances are other subscribing customers have also had that same difficulty. And they've got a support team that's written up a tutorial and done a video screencast on how to solve that problem. And the documentation is really robust with an all-in-one. But with a custom stack, there might only be a handful of people who use the same custom stack that I do. And so there's no existing documentation on solving the problems. But I have the right pieces for me. A custom stack can be suitable to me and my situation, whereas with an all-in-one, you're stuck with what they got. A developer team with an all-in-one marketing technology is going to have their own preferences. They're going to spend more time and energy and resources on different areas of the product. And some areas just aren't going to work very well. ClickFunnels is one of the best landing page builders, and they started trying to bring in email automation. And so that they could have email segmenting when people signed up, so you wouldn't have to integrate ClickFunnels with something else. And man, that was a beast when they did that launch. I had a couple of clients on ClickFunnels, and one of them wanted to get his affiliate program set up over there. And I could tell they just hadn't put enough development resources onto the email issue. The landing pages were still great. But if you're going to use ClickFunnels as an all-in-one, the email, at least recently, has been deficient. But the advantage of an all-in-one is that you get all-in-one reporting. With ClickFunnels emails, they track all the activity and correlate it with your website activity, and they'll give you a dashboard that has everything on it. But if I want to get that kind of data with a custom stack, I have to go into multiple different systems to collect those metrics and put them in an external spreadsheet. And it's a lot more difficult. And so these are some of the advantages and disadvantages of custom stacks and all-in-ones. And I'd like you to type in the chat box, which one do you use? Or which would you prefer? If you don't use one right now, which one do you think you're leaning towards? A custom stack or an all-in-one? Yeah, Scott, I love ConvertKit too. They do some things really well, and then other things I'm like, come on, I just want you to be the best. Got a lot of custom stacks. Yeah, I'm a big fan of custom stacks, but a lot of times people hire me because an all-in-one it's difficult to handle an all-in-one without somebody who really knows marketing technology. Sandy, I like what you said earlier, that custom stacks work if you have a good tech team in-house. But I find that even all-in-ones, they often require a tech professional. That's why there's certified Infusionsoft developers, or KEEP developers, they call them now, because unfortunately, all-in-ones just aren't very user-friendly for the end user unless you already know your way around marketing technology. Scott, you bring up a great quote in the chat box: "Jack of all trades, master of none." But there's a second part to that quote: "Better than being a master of one." That often gets left out. But originally the quote was, "Jack of all trades, master of none, better than being a master of one." Because a master of one trade has no other options. So yes, a jack of all trades may not be a master of all of them, but they're a lot more flexible in what they can do. So I want to go over the agenda real quick and make sure we hit all of our points. Thanks everybody for dealing with my technical difficulties throughout the presentation. First, we talked about the game of attention and how marketing helps us win that game. Then we talked about the 4-step customer cycle. And then we went over list building lead magnets, and then talked about the architecture of your marketing stack. And now I'd like to take you through the marketing automation checklist so that we can, so I can show you the different components of the different positions in your marketing stack. So I've got this PDF here that I'll just go ahead and drop the link here in chat. So anybody can go and open this up if you like. And this is a free PDF. You're welcome to share it. Just keep it all in one piece. Share it with friends. It's under a Creative Commons license. The first step is your lead generation. Getting a solid system for your lead generation gets it out of the way so that you no longer have to worry about, how do I find leads? You know exactly what to say and when to say it to build your list. That happens when you have a lead magnet targeted to your customer and a call to action that's pre-scripted in advance. Hey, if you want to grow your business with marketing automation, download my marketing automation checklist. That's what I say. When somebody's asking us a relevant question in person or online, I take that pre-written call to action and I put it in front of the landing page URL so that I can build my list without thinking too hard about it. For extra credit, you can do a pop-up on your website because they do work. I know that they're annoying, but boy, do they increase conversion. The second step is your nurture sequence. Somebody knows you because of your lead magnet, but they grow to like you because of your nurture sequence. Having a dedicated thank you page to deliver the lead magnet shows intention in that first moment when you're creating a relationship with a new potential customer. If you're just sending them to a blank thank you page and there's nothing really there, you know, it feels like I'm sure you've experienced this before, it just feels kind of drab. But when somebody has a great thank you page, it makes you feel like your relationship matters. The email onboarding sequence is critical. And I've got all sorts of templates in the Marketing Automation Planner if you want some a head start on getting your email onboarding sequence, because these emails build know, like, and trust. And I recommend putting in case studies and testimonials throughout this onboarding sequence so that way it validates their decision to subscribe to you. Step 3 is conversion, turning subscribers into customers. Offering a tripwire product like my Marketing Automation Planner, it gives me a segment of buyers, people who I know are willing to take out their credit card and pay me. And I can talk to those people differently than my general list. There's some other advanced tactics in here in the conversion section, but ultimately you need a spotlight offer. You need some high ticket offer that you can provide to anybody, anytime, anywhere. Because some people are going to be ready to do business with you. And if you have to construct a new offer anytime somebody expresses interest, it's going to slow down your business growth. Having something defined that it takes X number of weeks or months, and then you have these specific outcomes and results, and putting those on a sales page, that's the final part of your funnel. Until you have this 4th step completed, building your list is just vanity. You're gathering an audience around you so that you can talk to them. Your marketing only becomes effective when you can sell to your audience. So clarifying what you sell and why they should buy it, that's the 4th step in this checklist. Of course, all of this takes work. That's why I offer the Marketing Automation Planner, and I go through some specifics on it here, because I believe in selling from a lead magnet. Every lead magnet should end with calls to action. That's why mine ends with, to get the marketing automation planner, go here. But if people want to hire me for other things, I want to give them the opportunity to purchase my tripwire first, so I know if they're serious. So that's the marketing automation checklist. What I'd like to do next is talk about how this elevates your platform. Everybody has a platform. If you have something to say and something to sell, then you've got a platform. And your platform supports you. It elevates you above the crowd. It provides a method for people to find you. And there are 4 levels that a platform goes through. It starts with the soapbox. Anybody who has something to say can get up on a soapbox and try and get people to listen to them. But it doesn't become a commercial enterprise until you have something to sell. And then you have a showroom. And a showroom is focused around the things that you have on offer and how people can buy from you. But a showroom has a ceiling. You can only fit so many people on a showroom. And so that's why the 3rd level is a stage. And when you have a stage as your platform, all you have to do is show up and shine. You share your message and your systems do the selling for you. And then the final level is a stadium. And when your platform is a stadium, that's where you can start moving the market. And the strategic decisions you make change the audience demographic itself. There's different things that you can do on every level. Gosh, I love what the green screen errors are doing. This is so awesome. But those are the 4 levels. There's actually a 5th level of a platform, the -1 in the sewer. Nobody wants to be in the sewer. But the way that we raise our platforms is by working on the cornerstones. Every platform has 4 cornerstones. There's what you say and what you sell, and those are the external cornerstones. Those are the cornerstones that people can see when they look at you. But there's these 2 cornerstones at the back that are just as important, and those are your strategy and your systems. If one of these cornerstones is weak, your platform is always going to be leaning in that direction. It's always going to be dragging your attention. And I see this a lot with entrepreneurs that are trying to grow their platform, but they can't get to the next level because their cornerstones haven't been elevated. And so that's why a lot of the work that I do in my digital marketing agency, Stellar Platforms, is I help people work on these cornerstones one at a time to raise their platform. And I do this in 3 different ways. It's either done for you, done with you, or you do it yourself. Done for you is the most expensive, but it takes my clients the least amount of time. If you do it yourself, it takes you the most time, but it's the least expensive. And done with you is this happy medium where we do it together. And right now, these are the 3 offers that I have. There's one-to-one consulting where people hire me to get into their systems, to log in and get integrations happening and do the copywriting. And that's the most expensive option. The least expensive option is just to buy the marketing automation planner and go and do it yourself. But I do a lot of coaching with people one-on-one where I don't log into their systems, but I help them strategically move through the different stages of the marketing automation checklist. I give them feedback on their work. I ask questions that help them clarify what it is they really want to do with their business. And I have a 4th option that is not ready yet, but I'm launching it later this year for group coaching. And it's in this medium place between do it yourself and done with you. And what I'm putting together is a 12-month program that has monthly members-only workshops that are 90 minutes long, where we open up a template and we get stuff done and we get feedback from each other, as well as a weekly accountability mastermind with occasional open office hours where you can get feedback from me directly on your work, and all of my templates and tutorials. And I have a lot of templates because I've been working on these cornerstones for a long time. So I've got workbooks on how to do just about anything that a business needs to do when it wants to grow. And so I'm collecting these workbooks together into a 12-month program. And this 12-month group coaching program, it's not ready yet, but it's going to be ready in a couple of months. And the goal is to help people elevate their platform by raising their cornerstones. And so if you'd like to know about this group coaching program when it launches, just write group in the chat box and I'll follow up with you later. If you're watching this on the replay, it might even be ready already and there's a button somewhere nearby. But I want to offer one last bonus to everybody who's watching this live. And if you're watching this on the replay, if there's a button here, this offer is still available for a one-to-one marketing consultation. This is not a sales call. This is where I ask you about your business and we talk about how you can grow your business with marketing automation. And I'll put this link in the chat box here. It'll bring you to a form on my website because I need you to fill out a form so that we can hit the ground running in this call and I can come to the conversation prepared with ideas. And at the end of that call, I might have some recommendations on services that I could provide. And there's a 3 in 10 chance that you'll say, yeah, I think that sounds good. And we'll schedule a separate call to talk about that. But this call is a free marketing consultation where I'll just open up my brain and give you advice on how you can grow your business. And if you find that useful, then I invite you to fill out that form. And after filling out the form, it'll give you a link to my scheduling calendar. So that brings us to the end of Lead Magnetism, how to grow your business with marketing automation. Thanks so much for spending some time with me today. If you're watching this on the replay, best of luck out there. And if you're here live, I'll stick around for a few minutes for Q&A if anybody would like to chat.